I've kind of got a problem. I've got steel, like, everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Let's do something about that. So, I'm gonna be making some wall brackets to store my steel. First, I started by cutting some tube steel using this Evolution cold cut chop saw. It's pretty handy for stuff like this. So I started with some pretty crusty, rusty steel tube. I think just 1 inch. I already had another piece that was cut to length. I think about 3 foot. I like that this saw leaves pretty clean cuts in mild steel. So yeah, these are the bracket bodies that will go up against the wall. Next up, I need to cut the angled bits that are going to form the shelf arms that actually hold the steel. And I needed to adjust my saw to be at the correct angle. I think this is something around 10 degrees or so. Now, the shape of this cut is kind of weird. It needs to have this angle on the one side, but on the other side, it needs to be straight. These, by the way, are for the shelf arms that are going to rest up against the brackets. And you'll notice I'm using some angle iron for this. This is actually reclaimed angle iron from bed frames, and I needed to secure it against that tube right there. About right here is where I noticed that my blade was just way too chipped to be cutting this stuff. Bed frame angle iron is just ridiculously hard, and I didn't anneal it or anything, so it was a struggle. And yeah, I realized I needed to score this with an angle iron just to get through it. But I was able to get through it, and this is the first of those shelves, or at least the outline. Yeah, there's a ton of them. So I put these shelf arm cutoffs in a big old bucket of just disgusting vinegar that I have. The vinegar helps remove the rust in the paint. Here's what they look like after, and the paint just really rubbed off with some water and a shop rag. Then I started cutting some pieces for the end caps to the shelves. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. I wanted these end caps to be rounded, so I traced out an outline on these pieces. And then I took them over to the disc sander. So, not the most uniform thing, but they don't have to be for what they're going to be doing. Next, I cleaned up all these rusty brackets. And then I went to do some woodworking. I needed to cut a 12-inch spacer block so that I could measure off the distance between the shelves on the wall brackets. So here they are all laid out, and then I didn't film it, but I drilled a bunch of holes. And then we get to tacking. Not exactly my proudest moment. So here you can see things starting to come together. I got the shelves on the brackets, and I laid this one out when tacking it so that it's at the same angle. I was trying to get these to match as well as I could because I wanted the steel to rest pretty flat on the shelves if possible. But, inevitably when I went to compare, I had some warpage. Those magnets weren't really great for holding the angle iron, so I started beating the bejesus out of these things, hoping I could work them back into position. And yeah, I kind of broke one. So I cleaned it up. Now, obviously, these didn't turn out perfectly. I mean, it's not great that these aren't all at the same angle. But from the side, I guess the more important part is whether these shelves are going to be level so that the steel can rest flat. And they weren't perfect, but after this, I cleaned them up just a smidge off camera, and then I started welding. There was some warpage. I didn't really account for it much, and I probably should have. Here I am just tacking on the end caps and then welding them on. These end caps are basically what's going to keep the steel from falling off the edge. I realized a little bit too late that I probably should have been welding in the flat position the whole time. I'm definitely not an expert welder, and I need all the help I can get. So here's one of the finished brackets. Next I went on to paint. I laid on one primer coat and then I put some red on top. And then I kind of realized I wanted an additional way to secure the steel if I want. So I drilled some holes in the end of these end caps. And I added some of these, what the hell are these things called? Hook eye thingies. Anyway, I welded them on so that way I can run some chain between the end caps and these hooks if I want to. And then I went to start mounting the brackets. Ahead of time, I'd leveled and secured this piece of wood below, and then I marked out where the brackets would go against the studs in the wall. And here I am just drilling and securing them to the wall. And yeah, these were all up against the studs, so that's why the spacing's just a little wonky. And I tested them. Then I loaded them up with all the steel that I had lying around everywhere. And I gotta say, it really cleaned up the floor of my shop against the wall there. I think it worked out pretty well. So anyway, thanks for watching. if you could, in the comments below, please just let me know what you like the most about this video, and maybe what you think I can improve on. And until next time, keep tinkering.